Hooked On Fishing was brought to you by Matamata Sports World. For all your friendly advice and service, see us first. Hi, Chris Bungard, helping you plan your weekend's fishing. Well, looks like that rain's abandoned us again. Hot sunny days are on the forecast. If you work on the land around the place, it's getting pretty dry and a bit hot out there. Perhaps a bit of stress relief might be in the good form of fishing. It's interesting talking to one of my sons the other day, and he said the doctor recommended him that fishing was a great stress relief. So there we are. If you get a chance to go out and do a bit of fishing, do it. The rivers and that around the place at the moment, around the Matamata, the Waikato here, Hamilton, Rotorua, those areas there over in the Bay of Plenty, the rivers are low and clear at the moment, as you'd expect, and they really do make an absolute joy to fish them at the moment. They're a bit tough during the daytime. Get out your little weighted nymphs. Try that. If you're having a bit of trouble getting a hook up, some of the fish will be lying in the deeper pools, because in the hot weather they like to get down deep. They like to be under the embankments and that sort of thing, and in the shade. So get out those weighted nymphs and get them down into those little pools. Let it drop down through as it feeds through the pool, and you should pick up some quite nice fish. During the evening, though, is the best time at the moment. That change of light, get those little imitative dry fly patterns out, and there's some really good fishing to be had. Now, things are getting warm, as you'd expect, and the water temperatures are getting warm. Now, Lake Arapuni and Karapiro, the surface temperature is right up there now. It's 23, 24 degrees in places. So head for the little stream mouths. Try and think like a trout. They love the cold. They love the cold water, and they like to sit in that during the daytime and in the evening. And of course, also coming out of those little streams is insects and worms and all those sorts of things. They run out of the little stream into the main lake, and that's where the trout like to sit. So if you're heading up Arapuni or Karapiro, have a look for these little streams that are coming into the side of the banks and target them. Trust me, it does work. In the Rotorua region, talking to Glenn Skinner down there, and he's pretty impressed with the way things are fishing now on Lake Rotowiti and Tararua. Deep trolling seems to be doing the ticket, but jigging is now coming into its own a wee bit more. Every day this week, he tells me, the jigging has been improving. And if I was heading down to Rotorua at the moment, I'd be looking at Lake Rotowiti itself, and over on the what you'd call the western side, and the deeper water there is where the best fish seem to be coming out of at the moment in the jigging method. In the Taupo region, talking to my man down there, Ken Duncan. Now he's guide who works that area a lot. He does a lot of fishing in there, and he tells me the good old little Waitanui River or stream, you might call it, is holding some nice fish at the moment. Once again, it's a little bit like around here. They're in the deeper pools during the daytime, then in the evening at the change of light with those dry flies, get them out. Had a guy calling during the week, and he loves using the wet line, and of course what he's doing there, he's putting nymphs on and that sort of thing, and targeting those fish lying down in the deeper pools where it's a bit cooler. They're under the edge of the embankments. Be prepared to lose a bit of gear, because when you're trying to cast into some of those pools that have got overhangs over them like shade trees and all that sort of thing, it can be a wee bit tough. But yep, Taupo, Waitanui, try that. On the lake itself, deep trolling seems to be doing the ticket. Now to the sea fishing, well, Mother Nature is going to throw another kindness at it for the weekend. The west coast out at Raglan and Kawhia should be fishable. There's lots of nice kingies at the moment around Gannett Rock, and also out in the deeper water, Dwayne Pinney's been going out to the trench. Some beautiful bass, harphooker, blue nose, gemfish and all that sort of thing out there, mama, trumpeter and all that sort of thing. But most importantly too, if you're into those big fellas like the marlin and the tuna, well, there's been two marlins caught out the west coast this week, and Dwayne says on his trip the other day out to the trench, they saw a couple of marlin free jumping as well. So they are out there from about that 100 metre depth or in closer as well. This one he saw the other day was only in about 60 metres of water. So if you're heading out the west coast, sharpen those hooks on those lures and take those with you. Up into the Coromandel region, the incoming tide still seems to be fishing the best at the moment. You've got low tide around about midday on the weekend, so an afternoon bite is probably the best. Get out there, get those jobs done in the morning, head up to there, get the change of the tide around about 11:30 midday, and then fish that incoming tide, high tide around about 6 in the evening. Full moon coming up next week, so the tides are getting quite big. They're not as big as the new moon tides we've just had, but they're still reasonably significant. And the local guru, Greg Ward, old action man, told me that he's been getting some nice snapper in the deeper water outside the cow and calf and around about that 30 metre mark. Over the hill into the Mercury Bay region, I'm talking to local beekeeper Bryce Hooton the other day, and they went out on their launch and they had a couple of nice hits. They were out off what they call the hook, out off the top of Red Merc there. Now there's been some pretty good game fish catches, really, to be fair. Talking to a guy from the Whitianga Game Fishing Club, or Mercury Bay Game Fishing Club they call it, the other day. This stage last year, they'd weighed in 9 game fish. Now, that's including tuna, marlin and all that sort of thing. So 9 up to this stage last year. So far this year, up to this stage, they weighed in 54. So there's quite a significant difference there. Let's hope that they're not early ripe, early rotten, which has happened in the past. But if you're heading out there, I would certainly look at having a crack at those game fish. Even if you haven't had a go before and you're only in a smaller boat, doesn't matter. Get yourself a decent rod and reel, put a lure on, and away you go out and have a go, because there has been a few around. Now, also quickly, just over in the Bay of Plenty region in the Mere Island and Motiti area, the evening fishing around Motiti and Mere Island has been quite good at the moment, but the change of light fishing is a ticket. During the daytime, you're better off out pulling a bit of plastic around trying to catch yourself a game fish. Now, if you'd like a new reel from Kilwell, well, of course, you can get yourself on the draw for that by giving us a call at the show on 0508 647462. That number again, 0508 647462. This has been Chris Bungard helping you plan your weekend's fishing. Hooked on Fishing was brought to you by Matamata Sports World. For all your friendly advice and service, see us first.